Mac, I had a true Fenton's Horse Ranch moment over the
Really?
weekend.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not having any fun right now. I'd like to get off.
I went snowboarding, skiing, winter activities with
Sure,
my
sure.
wife's family, went to Vermont, had a lovely time.
Okay.
I hadn't snowboarded in 11 years. And mind you, I had only snowboarded once prior to that. So in my entire lifetime leading up to this past weekend, I had snowboarded once,
Had
and
you
it was
skied
11
before?
years ago. What was that?
Had you skied before?
No.
Okay. So I told you going into this weekend, knowing that you were pretty inexperienced, you're better off just picking up a set of skis.
So went over to the mountain, snow in Vermont, if you've ever heard
Sure.
of it.
Oh,
And
Mount Snow. You're not just yelling snow.
right,
Yeah.
went up the lift, hopped off the lift. I was
Mhm.
with my wife's cousins. She didn't do it. She's just learning how to ski now. And I didn't realize that I was with a bunch of fucking rocket powers that were fucking shredding the gnar.
We are riders on a mission. I will say now, I haven't snowboarded in 20 years. I
Yeah.
snowboarded when I was a teen. When I got to my adult life, similar situation to you, I hadn't snowboarded forever, was going on a ski trip. I decided to ski knowing that it's easier to pick up. You have a little bit more control at the beginning. And also us having ice skating backgrounds, it helps tremendously when you're learning to ski. So I figured you would go that way. I picked up skiing pretty quickly, love skiing now.
Back to me. I was a regular squid, pretty much twerking my way down the mountain, on my heels, just took me a very long time to get down.
Yeah.
And after my first run, I'm like, I'm going to take a couple hours off.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
going to, mentally get back into it. And then at the end of the day, I went back up one more time and pretty much by myself because they had all moved on to fucking blue trails, black trails, Olympic trails.
Yeah.
And I'm just by myself, just slowly going down the hill, finding paths that are completely flat. So I have to take the board off my feet and walk, getting stuck in ditches.
That's the other downside to snowboarding. You don't have the poles to push yourself.
And at one point, I was just laying there on my back, staring at the sky, going, I wonder if one of the fucking ski patrollers will pick me up.
Next time you go, if there's a next time, ski, you won't be as bad as you are at snowboarding. Number two, I don't know, like, why did you take the lessons with Dana? You just thought you're
Look, I went down the bunny hill absolutely fine.
okay.
It was just when
It's
I
the
got
same
on the
concept.
actual mountain. No, it's a lot like, how when I go golf,
Mhm.
I'm fine interest-wise for like 6 or 7 holes, and then I'm fucking bored. After I go down one of the hills, I'm like, I think I've already done this.
See, I get like a need for speed type of thing. Where I'm at now in my ski evolution is I am not used to fresh pow. So if it's snowing a lot when you go,
Are you an expert? How?
your skis or your snowboard dig in 2, 3, 4 inches, and it's much harder than the stuff that's been groomed and you're kind of on top of. So the last time I went, it was fresh gnar, and
Yeah.
my legs were on fire and fuego, as some people say.
I'm the exact opposite. I hated speed. As soon as I picked up any
really?
speed, I just fell down. I was like, I'm just going to fall on my ass. I'll skip a couple steps and then I'll pop back
Just
up.
make an S, go wide.
I don't want to get on my toes and fall. I
So,
think
we
ate
found out
shit.
you shouldn't snowboard anymore.
I ate shit at least 7 times.
Yeah, you can get hurt more snowboarding too because you fall on your wrists.
Oh, I did a very good job because you told me ahead of time, don't
Yeah.
fall on your wrist.
Yeah.
So what I did is anytime that I was falling forward, I put my arms out in fucking Superman.
One goo, 3 yeah. Jaws 3. King of Queens. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we are the Mac and Goo program. We bring you friendship and an episode that no one really wants.
I'll tell you, you talking about getting injured while skiing, snowboarding. This show, I think, brought me more pain than any ski or snowboarding experience has.
My last weekend, nope. I'd rather watch Echo again.
Yeah, today we are finally getting to Jess Jones season 3. No, I'm just kidding there, Gil. We're getting the Echo. Echo came out on January 9th on Disney Plus. All 5 episodes came out at once. I think it was 5, if I recall correctly. Goo, this is the 10th show / series in the MCU and the 43rd MCU property overall. We're so deep in now, I'm not going to just start including the Netflix stuff and all that other stuff. They are technically
But let me ask you now. So my big question out of this is because they called this a spotlight and they made a big point of saying you don't need to watch any of the other MCU stuff to watch this and vice versa. But this is a part of the universe, because that makes that kind of confusing.
Oh, it's definitely a part of it. They're just doing that way. It's sort of a one-off, but it's still in the universe. So it has no effect on anything.
No, it has a huge effect on stuff.
Well, yes, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
No, it has a huge effect on things.
And by the way, this is going to be spoiler full. It's been out for 2 months and it sucked.
So canonically, yes, it is here. Do you have to watch it? No, don't worry about it.
No,
but the next time that you watch something, you're going to say, wait a second, how did this happen?
I know. That's honestly like the biggest thing that's bothering me from this. It has nothing to do with Echo or the character. It's the character of Kingpin and where the fuck we end up with him.
No, so don't call it a spotlight. Don't just say it's a part of the MCU. If you want it, like if you wanted it to be its own thing, like Werewolf by Night, I
get what you're saying.
Then don't have it be consequential to the rest of the story.
I get what you're saying. And you're right. So this is the first spotlight production. I wonder how many more they're going to do.
Was Werewolf also Spotlight, or was it called something else?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is, but you could rope that in with this. It's sort of the same ilk.
Yeah, because the Guardians Christmas was a part of canon because they did make Mantis his sister, and they used that in the movie.
Well, this is part of canon.
I know. I'm aware of that, but they went out of their way to be like, you don't have to watch the other stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder how many more things they'll do like this, because this obviously didn't do well. And I think they're doing too much as it is. So they should probably halt with the spotlight stuff. Goo, Echo is a TVMA action adventure in crime. There's not much action and adventure, and there's a crime. One crime.
There is two actions. There's 2 actions.
2 actions, 2 crimes. This had 208 minutes. That's 3 hours, almost 3.5 hours of content on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe once again, 5 episodes, a very awkward 5 episodes. On Rotten Tomatoes, it says 70% from the critics, 61% from the audience. That is the 3rd worst audience score of the 10 Marvel series, or I should say seasons of television, because there was 2 seasons of Loki. On Metacritic, a 62, which is the worst critic score on Metacritic out of the 10, although just below Secret Invasion. But 62 is actually not bad at all. So the critics have been generally okay with everything Marvel is doing. The audience, not so much lately. And so I would say, I don't know, like 61% to me sounds super high, because I have not heard one person say they liked this show. There were some that thought it was fine. I haven't found anyone that liked this show.
Yeah. So you mentioned the 3-hour and 30-minute runtime. Are you ready for this? I'm ready to straddle the fence.
Let's do it.
It is both its strength and its weakness.
I would say the strength of this show, and we'll get to it when we do the gauntlet, is that it came out all at once, so I could consume it all at once.
No, that is a plus. I wouldn't say that. So the show at least tries to flesh out the character. Like, it takes time to explain the family, dive a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give it credit for that. But what they gave us wasn't necessarily entertaining.
No, not at all. And they also, there are a couple paths they go down that lead absolutely nowhere. And you're like, well, if you're going to do 3.5 hours or something, you might as well do the final half hour or another 45 minutes and like really flesh out the 1 or 2 characters that seemed like they were going to be meaningful from the first episode, you know?
Yeah. And even the one-off scenes in this, and they would usually open each episode with a one-off scene, usually having to do with her Native American heritage background. And those were the most interesting things in the episode. And they really didn't have anything to do with the rest of the story.
I pretty much hated every flashback they did. And I
didn't mind it.
I understood why they were doing it. Yeah. And I suppose they did them well. They did not help the series whatsoever. This series was directed by Sydney Freeland. She did 4 of the episodes. Again, I don't remember if it was 5 or 6. That's how not
It's
memorable
5.
the show was.
5.
No one got a created by title, which I think is the first series to have that. There's usually a created by, someone takes credit for it. So apparently no one wanted to take credit for this. Synopsis: Maya Lopez must face her past, reconnect with her Native American roots, and embrace the meaning of family and community if she ever hopes to move forward. Now, before you go, I'll say 2 things here. We have no investment at all in Maya and the character of Echo. She pops up in Hawkeye for 3 episodes,
3
whatever it is.
episodes.
She's a decent character. You don't mind her. There's not one person that saw her in Hawkeye and was like, she needs her own show.
Well, I
So
was
that's-
curious what her connection to Kingpin was,
Sure.
and it I kind of like that flashback of him kicking that guy's ass, but we've seen a bunch of that with Kingpin.
Yeah. And the second part here, the embrace the meaning of family and community if she ever hopes to move forward. This felt like the reason this series got made was so that they could throw a little lasso into the Native American realm and be like, okay, we want to do this, represent people that aren't normally represented, which I get and I totally understand.
Yeah.
And like I said, they did that relatively well. However, that stuff just, there's a disconnect between that and the character. Like, it doesn't play up at all. It doesn't round out Maya whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever.
This show stars Alakwa Cox as Maya Lopez, Echo, and again, kudos to her for being deaf, and she's an amputee, so she gets her flowers there. And I don't think I don't necessarily have an issue with her at all and the way she acts the character, just everything else around it. Chasky Spencer as Henry Black Crow Lopez. I believe that was her uncle, I want to say. Tantu Cardinal as Chula. That was the grandfather type figure.
Mhm.
Graham Greene as Scully. I don't even remember who the fuck that was. That might have been the guy cousin with the pickup. Devery Jacobs as Bonnie. She was like the paramedic firefighter character. Cody Lightning as Biscuits. No, Biscuits was the pickup truck guy.
Biscuits was, yes.
And then we have Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Ugh.
The only thing I'll say here again is I don't know if I disliked any of the performances. Just everything that was on screen was so uninteresting. Like it had no meaning and there's no ramifications. Like it felt half-assed isn't the word. It felt just like a total misstep, total misfire on Marvel's part.
So like you think the Marvel stuff was half-assed. You think the MCU stuff was half-assed in this? Like they focused what they wanted on the Native American
but
stuff.
I also don't think what they give us makes Maya a better character, both the Native American side and the Kingpin stuff. I'm not rooting for Maya any more than I was before the show. I don't think it helps your character at all. In fact, I'm more confused as to what her character can do.
I'm just confused as to how this plays into anything.
Yeah. So let me jump down to a second here. So her character of Echo can do different stuff in the comics than what she ends up doing on screen here. And this is the premise of her character. For those of you that didn't quite pick up on it, maybe 2 months ago, maybe you're rounding into shape
3-4 years ago when this thing came out.
The character of Chafa is the first Choctaw. That's the ancestor we see in the opening minutes of the series, the first 3 or 4 minutes of the series. Loak is the lacrosse player. We saw her in an extended version.
Are we spoiling right now?
Yeah, you can spoil.
Okay, so before we start spoiling, do you recommend this to people?
No, God, no.
I don't either.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And this Loak character is like the fierce competitor. Chafa is like the powerful one. Tuklo is the woman we see fighting criminals with her father in that 1800s flashback, which we sort of just gloss over. She never even gets mentioned again until like the final 5 minutes of the series.
A sharpshooter, though.
She's that protector of life, so called. And then Taloa is Echo's mother, and she has this like sort of healing gift. So the idea is Maya is supposed to be an echo of these 4 characters. That's their spin on Echo here, which is much different than what she is in the comic book. So I'm sure the comic book people that love Echo aren't happy about that. I'm okay with the premise of that. But when we finally see Echo like power up and use some sort of power towards the end of the series,
The hand stuff.
it makes no sense. And you have no idea what she's doing. You have no clue what's going on. And it's not explained well at all. At all.
And they also, for some reason, and this is maybe some of the best stuff from the Netflix shows is Kingpin's flashbacks. But I didn't need to go back there again.
No, we didn't need to rehash Kingpin stuff. Or at the very least, if we're going to do that, make it worth something in the future, which they don't in this series. And Goot, to your point, is this part of the MCU? This is set 5 months after the events of Hawkeye. At the conclusion of Hawkeye, we see Maya shoot Kingpin in the face, presumably, and then it cuts to black. We have no idea what happens there. And at the beginning of the series, she's being pursued by Fisk and his dingbat cronies. So like, all right, he survives. He now has an eye patch on, but like halfway in like episode 3, he just takes the eye patch off and his eye is totally fine.
It's just milky.
Barely a scar. Yeah, it's a little milky. Maybe has some cataracts, but there's no lasting effect from being shot.
He has the contact in from Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, like he didn't lose an eye. There's no real lasting effect from it. I don't know how you could explain that, because Kingpin isn't really enhanced. You know, he's sort of pseudo French. He's bigger than life.
Strong.
He doesn't have a power, and he's definitely is not fucking bulletproof. So that stuck in my craw for longer than it should have. Like a week after watching this, I'm like, how the fuck does he get shot in the face, not only survive, but have no lasting scar from it?
But also, so now this Spotlight show, if you didn't watch this thinking that like, oh, this is something that I don't need to watch.
Right.
He pops up in a Spider-Man or Daredevil show and he's absolutely fine.
Right. It's going to be real confusing.
Because she healed him. She healed his mind and his eye is fine now.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. For lack of a better term, she sort of made him open his eyes to what he could see.
She gave him LASIK.
And then if you didn't watch this series, he is going to pop up again in whatever it is. And the lasting memory you'll have is that he got shot in the face at the end of Hawkeye, and now he's just cool.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, that's a better explanation than what this series gives you.
I have now seen him in 2 MCU properties, and I don't think he's been good in either.
I thought he was the exact same character in Hawkeye as he was in Daredevil. But again,
he was in half of an episode of Daredevil.
Again, I am much lower on Daredevil and him in general, so it doesn't bother me that he's not this fucking standout character that you claim him to be.
In Daredevil, he's a big, physically imposing guy.
I thought he was the exact same in Hawkeye.
He gets beaten by a rookie Hawkeye, and then Maya, who shoots him in the face.
Hawkeye's the man. You always say that.
What?
You always talk about how cool Hawkeye is.
Not Haley Steinfeld Hawkeye.
Oh, she's even cooler.
No, she's definitely cool. I never said, look, cool is not a part of beating a Kingpin.
I don't know. Cool factor? You ever consider that? Cool whip?
Is that one of our new things?
Yeah.
The cool whip?
Yeah. Good. You want to go through the gauntlet here?
I guess. Fun factor?
Yes. It's devoid of fun. There's a scene that I like. There's one scene out of the full 3.5 hours that I liked. One.
That's episode 3?
Yep.
I like the idea of that. The editing in it is fucking terrible.
Fair enough. I'm not going to disagree with you on
that.
I guess I like the idea of the scene more than anything.
There is one cut where they cut from one landscape.
Talking about the laser tag roller rink scene. Yeah.
They cut from that to the exact same shot.
Yeah, not great.
That looks fucking stupid. The first episode, I actually liked that one better. When Daredevil pops up for 35, 37 seconds.
Hated that because of the tease.
That's because you thought it was going to be 6 minutes.
No.
But I always
the whole
consider
world
30 seconds to be 6 minutes. So I'm fine with that. I don't know. This was not good. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. That's a good cough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Satisfactor. No. Like even if, so hold up. This is their first TVMA. And even that feels kind of half-assed too.
Yeah, good point about that. I didn't even know that. That's a nice little fun fact right there. I don't think there's anything satisfying in this. In fact, piggybacking off of what we were just talking about, the fact that Daredevil was teased to being here in this 6-minute epic fight, and it ends up being 1 minute and like 30 seconds of fighting.
It's less than that, but go ahead.
I took it down. I got stats coming up here.
Go ahead.
That actually made the Satisfactor go negative because we expected this and it was like way down here. So it was not satisfying whatsoever.
Barometer. Yes, I was intrigued until the end of the first episode. They kind of roped me back in during the third episode. But then all the Kingpin stuff just completely lost me.
3 hours and 28 minutes. I would say I was bored for 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Halloween, will this wane over time? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, and they're very lucky that I binged it, because if this was a weekly release, I never would have finished it. Never would have made it through episode 2.
Aquator, is this better or worse than 2017's Aquaman?
It sinks. It's not nearly as good, in fact.
Which, by the way, I'm super excited that tomorrow we get to watch Aquaman 2.
Finally.
So look out for that in the next couple
Just in
weeks.
time for the Gooby Vault.
I know. Next couple weeks, we'll do a full episode on it. We'll see if it.
Sure.
We'll see if it floats.
All right.
Pants 10 City, Excite Bike Mania. What got you going?
Again, I thought the roller rink laser tag fight was cool. That's it. That's all I had. That's the only thing that I thought was cool in the whole series.
There was a cut in it that really got to me. I did like the hand-to-hand stuff with Daredevil, but you hate the length of it. And then the finale of this was terrible. Like, what's the opposite of a pants tent?
It's a great question. The
I
tuck.
can retract my penis.
Oh, God.
Max Credit Union. Who are you giving credit to?
I guess to Feige or whoever it was that decided to release this all at once, because I think a majority of people that watch the show would not have finished it if it was week to week.
Yeah, it reminds me of when they put out WandaVision and they said, let's put the first 3 episodes out at once, or the first 2 episodes. Like, let's bunch up a couple episodes, because if we just put out one, we might lose some people.
Yep, 100%.
Hot dog, hot dog,
dog. Dog.
For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goop party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog basis. And Mac, I saw this roughly a month ago. The stuff that people liked in it, I'm the opposite. I think different than most people. I didn't really care for that episode 3 fight scene. I thought some of it was cool. I thought that the show should have went harder into the TVMA, into the R-rated stuff, and they only gave us 2 really good fights in this. The stuff with her and Kingpin, I thought sucked. I have not liked Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in this, or whoever's directing him, whoever's writing him. I have not liked him in this compared to Daredevil, which I feel the same way about him and Hawkeye as well. I thought that last episode of Hawkeye was a little bit of a letdown, but a lot of the MCU shows have kind of had a tough time on their final episodes. Alekwa Cox is pretty good in this. I will give her credit with that. I mean, she does what they ask her to do. The power set isn't great. I do like some of the flashbacks, but overall, there's nothing really gripping here. There's nothing holding me in.
Right.
And if it was a week-to-week show and we weren't doing this, I don't know if I would have finished it.
What do you got for a dog score?
I don't know.
To your point, though,
Yeah.
as well as she acts it, because she's kind of a bad guy, she's a really hard character to root for. Like, you don't care what happens to her.
I don't know. If she died in this, I'd be cool with it.
Yeah, like it wouldn't have mattered at all.
She feels inconsequential to the story.
That's a very good word
and
for her.
This show is called Echo. She feels inconsequential to the show Echo.
Yeah. It's a great point.
I don't know. 22 hot dogs.
All right. A little Emmett Smith action for you. Goo, I've got this at 20 and I don't feel good about it. I made this score probably 3 weeks, a month ago. That's probably generous. If it was released weekly and I did finish it, it might be a 10, an 8. I don't know. To me, it's the worst Marvel series by a lot, like by a good margin. And it's to me, it's in the conversation for the worst thing they've done out of the 43 MCU entries. It's real bad. And let me run through the shows for you right here, just to give you a little bit of a reminder. In the bottom, so I have a full bottom tier here. Actually, Echo's in a tier of itself. Then I have look at the thumbs
Give
up.
it a thumbs up,
It's
you
back.
asshole.
And then I have a tier of
Why don't I get it? What
4
is
shows,
this?
Goo, that aren't good, didn't hate them. I got Falcon and Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, Secret Invasion, and She-Hulk. Take them or leave them. I don't care if you like them or hated those. To me, those are all roughly in the same tier. And then I have the tier of good things, not great. Loki season 2, WandaVision, Miss Marvel, and Hawkeye. Hawkeye, I think, is clearly at the top of that tier. I like that more than the other 3, but I believe it belongs in that tier. And then at the very top in a tier of itself, I have Loki season 1. To me, that's head and shoulders the best thing they've done out of these 10 seasons of television.
I would have it at the bottom, but if you wanted to tell me Secret Invasion is worse, I would probably accept that. I will say at the end of the first episode of Secret Invasion, I was at least intrigued.
Secret Invasion, if not for nothing, was intriguing for the full run. The ending
I don't know if
was
it's the
not
full
good.
run. I
The
think
ending was not good.
the ending sucked, and it definitely lost me along the way. But I was at a very high intrigue after one episode.
To me,
That never happened to me.
Moon Knight had a worse intrigue and a worse ending. So Secret Invasion is above Moon Knight, and Moon Knight's above Falcon and Winter
Moon
Soldier
Knight
and Echo.
might have one of the best MCU episodes, though.
Maybe.
When he killed his brother, that was an
Yeah.
accident, but still.
Yeah. That was a
And
good
his
episode.
mom. Oh,
It was a good episode. You're right.
it's a really good episode.
You're right. All right, let's get into the notes we have that are quote unquote spoilers, even though we've been
We've been
pretty much
spoiling for a while,
for
yeah.
the whole thing. Go to your point. And again, I'm not the biggest Fisk guy in the world. Fisk just doesn't feel like the Fisk he's supposed to feel like. He's not intimidating whatsoever. He doesn't feel bigger than life, and that's the big thing with Wilson
Yeah.
Fisk. To me, he did feel like that in Hawkeye 2. He didn't. He obviously was that character in Daredevil. He is nothing like that in this show.
Yeah, if they want him to be a street level Thanos, he needs to be bigger than life and feel like he is this super powered human on the streets. He can't just be another man.
Well, that I feel like they're using him not losing an eyeball as that instead of him like doing some.
No, I want him
doing
to
something
be
cool or acting cool.
like I don't
They're
want him
using
to be.
the lack of damage to him as that like sort of intimidation factor.
I don't want him to be souped up, but
Yeah.
I want him to be smarter than everybody else. I want him to be stronger as a human than most people. I want him to seem indestructible, but I do not like none of this makes me feel that way.
Well, that's like the best to me. The best part of Punisher and Daredevil's Netflix series is like the people were wearing the blows, right? Whether
Yes.
they win or lose a fight, you could see the damage on them, and you can have Fisk win all his fights, but don't let him walk away unscathed.
No,
like,
but
that's
also
so stupid.
yeah, but I mean, like at the end of that, Daredevil beats the shit out of him, and
Right.
all he gets out of it is just putting him in jail.
Right.
And also, Daredevil, you had the 13 episodes, and it's a 12 episode lead up of everyone feeling completely hopeless against this fucking character.
Mhm.
No one here has felt hopeless.
No, this. If you're telling me Daredevil now counts in the MCU, this undermines whatever they built up for
Yeah.
Wilson Fisk because he's
Mhm.
not that character at all in this show. Okay, speaking of Daredevil, the fight ends up being just over a minute, or the fight ends up being just over a minute, and he's in the series in that first episode for a total of a minute and 40 seconds. He shows up at 23:15 of the first episode, fights Echo 22 seconds later, and then a minute and 18 seconds later, he's off the screen.
Sounds like a
This
long
was
time to me.
marketed as a 6-minute Daredevil and Echo fight scene. Marketed as that, teased as that. 6 minutes. He wasn't even on the screen for 6 minutes, much less
Technically,
fight
though,
for 6.
Is that fight scene 6 minutes though?
The
Like,
fight
not
scene
inc-
is
the
a
full fight
minute
scene.
and 18 seconds with him. The fight before he jumps in might be 30 seconds, and then it ends when he leaves. So the full fight scene might be 2.5 minutes.
You just don't know length.
That was like, and again, as a non-Daredevil guy, that was pretty fucking annoying because that's like, all right, at least if it's gonna be Daredevil level again brutality,
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, I can get on board with this, but it didn't even give us that. It was so stupid.
What
And
I
then
also
you-
hated was the actors saying that like they didn't skip a beat with this show and the feeling that they had when they were making
right.
their
There was
show.
a lot of that too. Yeah,
Which that's not true, guys.
it's a puff piece, real fucking puff piece here.
Yeah.
Goo, I believe in episode 4, the end of episode 3, when Fisk kills his translator, he gives basically an Apple Vision Pro to Maya, so now they can see what they're signing to each other, or vice versa. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That was so fucking stupid. Again, that felt like, okay, we haven't had Fisk be a badass enough, so we'll have him just shoot the translator in the head. Someone who's actually useful to him,
Yeah.
because now he's got Apple Vision Pro.
Well,
No.
no, because she knew all their secrets.
Dude, we got
Well,
I
so
s-
hold up. That reminds me of in Ant-Man Quantumania. They go into the quantum realm and they all drink juice, and then suddenly they can all speak the same language.
Right. I'm better with that. I'm better with that than the
So
goggle.
you wish that
The
he gave
eyepiece.
Echo some juice, and then suddenly she could hear and speak.
Works better for me than the fucking eye camera. I hated it. I hated it. We get this tease, and I believe it was in the first episode of Maya's cousin. She is like longingly staring at her, stalking her almost.
Yeah.
And then she literally means nothing the whole series, but then pops up in the climax in the finale, like helping her out with the powers. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? What did we cut here? Or did we just not do anything with this character?
Even Kingpin's cronies, what do they actually add to this?
Nothing. Nothing was added from anyone.
Like it's all just generic crap.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. That's why, like, when I say it's 20 out of 40, 50%, I don't even feel like it is. I feel like it should be fucking 25%. So 10 hot dogs. But at the same time, I won't pretend like when I finished watching all 5 episodes, I was upset because it was a breeze. I was in and out. And I was like, you know what? Fucking, I never thought this was going to be good. It wasn't good. But then when I started looking stuff up, typing stuff out, I got more mad about it.
Oh, credit for the signing too, for the sign language. That was cool.
Yeah. And again, like
You know.
I said, they apparently do justice to some Native American heritage here, which is fine. You know, that's dandy. I'm glad you're doing that, but don't do it like in lieu of a good story or storytelling. It didn't hit for me. It just did not hit at all. Like, why the fuck did we watch a Native American woman play lacrosse for 15 minutes? What the fuck was that, Goo?
Oh, I like that. That was fun.
That was maybe the worst scene in the MCU. That was horrible.
I can maybe think of something worse. Give me some time.
All right, we'll talk about it next week. I'll give you a week to think about that.
Thank you.
Watching a Native American woman play lacrosse in like the 1600s was the worst fucking thing the MCU has done.
What are you talking about? She used that skill when she won the Olympics. Like,
this is like, oh God,
are you dying?
Yeah, I'm going on 3 weeks now. It's not good. I don't.
I know. You get the black lung pop.
This show sucks, Goo. This show was terrible. It's not. The good news is like it's not Madam Web level, but I'll be honest with you, like this is the Madam Web of the MCU maybe now.
Well, this at least, paid attention to details and like put effort into little things.
They put effort in. I'll give it that.
Madam Web didn't put effort into anything.
Fair enough. That's a fair point to be made. I'll give you that.
But also, I saw this a month ago and I have forgotten most of it.
Yeah, I saw it 7 weeks ago, and it's still a thorn in my side because
you remembered more than I did. I remembered like some of the big standout things and just my absolute hatred for how they use Fisk.
Yeah. It's just so I don't know, like, obviously Marvel has been slowly drawing back, and with Kang stuff, they're gonna have to make changes anyways. I don't know if we get another Spotlight thing. Like, there's no reason to do it.
I don't understand the point of the Spotlight thing if it's just canon.
Well. Yeah, I agree.
If it's something that is outside of the universe and you just want to tell a little story and call it a Spotlight, that's cool.
Well, I think the idea is
if you're canon and it's another show, then
like,
it's
this
just
is
a show.
technically canon, but the only consequential thing that happens is Fisk doesn't lose his eye. That's it.
Yeah. So when you watch another show and you're like, why the fuck does he have two eyes?
But that's why they're saying like you don't need to watch other stuff, and this doesn't really affect other stuff.
Like, I thought he might have been dead. No, he's completely fine now.
He's very fine. He's doing the best he's ever been.
So 22 is too high for me. I'm probably lower.
Yeah, 20 is too high as well. But so do you have a show worse? Was this your worst MCU show?
I think on the consistency, yes, but I think Secret Invasion just really fucking misses. Like, it's around episode 3.
I agree. Like,
this is not
considering
good.
Expectations with Secret Invasion, that it's a definitive miss. But the quality of that show is much higher than this. It's just the finale was so bad that it brings everything else down.
But I think the quality, I like the attention to detail of certain things in this. I just didn't find it that entertaining.
Yeah, there was no entertaining thing.
But they didn't give a lot of attention to detail when it comes to Secret Invasion, when it comes to some character traits.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I'm saying, like, as much of a miss as Secret Invasion was. And, let me put it this way. Maybe I'll frame it better this way, and this will make some people at home understand, and maybe you'll buy it. I would rather them take the swing and miss on Secret Invasion than them give us something like this 10 times out of 10.
I think this was more of a swing and miss. Like this was.
And
I
this is
think
not
they
even a
took-
swing and miss. This is just a wild pitch.
Yeah, but they took a bigger chance on this than Secret Invasion. They just
No.
yes, they did.
For sure not, because they told us this was meaningful from the jump. They gave us all the stuff pre this show. Like, don't worry too much about this show. It's like on the fringe. Secret Invasion was supposed to be a big thing. So,
But it,
all right,
but it ended up being nothing.
okay.
That was nothing too.
So let me let me do another sports analogy. Let me see if this hits for you. They took 3 straight pitches down the middle of the plate in Secret Invasion. Couldn't get a hit with Secret Invasion, but at least they took the at bat. This show stayed in the dugout the whole series.
What has been their most recent shows? It's been Loki season 2.
Loki
it's been
season
Secret
2
Invasion.
was right before this. Secret
I
Invasion.
liked
was right
Loki
before
season
that.
2 at least. Okay, so they haven't been that far off with their shows.
I think they just gotta trim the fat, right?
Oh no, they need to focus in on quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And I think everyone they know this.
I think they're gonna have to get back to that with the King stuff, because now they're like kind of racing to figure out what they're gonna do. But at the very least, they bought some time just doing Deadpool this year. You know, they have time to figure stuff out.
Are there any shows coming out this year?
That's a great question. I don't think so. I think when we looked up Deadpool, Deadpool was the only Marvel thing coming out this year besides Echo.
And then next year we're getting 3 seasons of Armor Wars.
Yes. Yep.
That's all
3
January.
24 episode seasons of Armor Wars.
You know what's crazy is like if you look up Gilligan's Island, there's 35 episodes in the first season.
Yeah, but in fucking 1965, goo, like people had nothing else to watch.
What if they gave us a 35 episode season of Armor Wars and Don Cheadle wears the fucking Bob Denver hat?
You want a little fun fact about Gilligan's Island? I learned this when I was in Hawaii. The bay that I stayed at, or just off of, is the bay they leave from in Gilligan's Island. And if you notice in the opening credits, the American flag is at half mast because they filmed that the day that JFK died.
Oh,
Yeah. They
That
had
is a fun
spent all the
fact.
money for that day. So they were in Hawaii. They had to film it that day. So in the background of the opening scene of Gilligan's Island, you see the flags at half mast for JFK.
number 1, I'm going to fucking clip that for social media. That's going to go gangbusters. Number 2, I already know this answer, but Ginger or Marianne?
Oh, Marianne by a mile.
You love redheads though.
Oh, but no, the brunette girl next door is always going to be my number one. The redheads is just like the flavor of the month.
What about Mrs. Muntz? Is that her name?
I'll take Ginger over her. Listen,
The old lady.
I'm not
The
gonna
old lady.
scoff at Ginger, but Marianne 10 times out of 10.
Fucking professor. He must have been doing something, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a lot of money.
Well, no, he didn't. Thurman.
Oh, that's what
I'm blanking on the old people name, but the
Yeah.
professor can make a fucking telephone out of coconuts.
I don't know why I watched so many episodes of that as a kid, but it was on every Saturday morning.
It was on
like
Nick at
6
Night.
a.m.
It was on Saturday mornings.
At like
Yeah, it was
6
on
a.m.
constantly.
Yeah,
I like when the Globetrotters got caught there. I like when everyone got caught there.
remember that.
Yeah, they went there. They played a basketball game.
On the island?
Oh, yeah.
Why? How could they not get off the island then?
Winner got off the island. I think
doesn't
that's what
seem-
happened.
That doesn't seem like a real thing.
Let's get into Maxac.
And Maxac could be anything. It could be a boat. And this week, it is to tell you that in 2 weeks, we are returning to Idle Hands, back with that trivia.
Ayo.
And this month, March 13th, The Office.
Wednesday, March 13th, Idle Hands, Craft Ales, 89 Commercial Street, Malden, Massachusetts. The Office Redux. I believe it's the third time we're doing it.
The
We
third
could do
time.
The Office every month, quite honestly,
Mhm.
but I'm looking forward to that. Goo, also, if you hung around this long, this shitty of an episode for a shitty series, the good news is our next 2 episodes are 2 of our best of the year. We're
Oh,
going
my
to have
God, yes.
the auction movie draft featuring #dork,
Mhm.
and then we will have the Mac and Goovy vault just in time for the Oscars next week.
Yep. And then we'll do one more episode that is leading into our March Madness. So we have March Madness coming up.
Big
And
month.
then we also have a full Aquaman 2 review. We have a bunch of good shit coming up.
I'll tell you, I'm having a hard time. Listen, right off the top, I did not give Dune 2 40 hot dogs, but I'm having a hard time not thinking it's the greatest thing ever because everything
Oh.
I've watched this month was so bad.
We also didn't mention this at the end of this week.
Yeah.
Dune 2.
That was I said it in my head and realized just now I had.
So we have 5 or 6 straight episodes. Like
Bangers.
this last episode, like Max said, if you stuck around, thank you.
Mhm.
This last episode, not great. The next 5 or 6,
Dune 2 was great.
yeah,
Real good. Did you give it 40 hot dogs?
I don't think so.
I don't have it at 40, but it's fucking close.
But everything is necessary.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting conversation. For sure.
Mhm. And speaking of conversation, do you see that Denis Villeneuve said that what he does not like about movies is dialogue?
He's sort of right though. So
Yeah.
I think it's all he didn't name it by name, but what I think he's calling out is shows like Mad Men and
Mhm.
how that became such a craze, but nothing fucking happens in there besides people talking. And I get that's good
Yeah.
to a certain extent, but the reason why I don't like Mad Men and shows like that is because it's so telegraphed. Because there's so much dialogue and you're showing the characters doing so many things, you know Don Draper's a bad guy 10 minutes into that show. So I get what he's saying. Like there's no there's no big grandiose moments in these shows like you have in a lot of these movies because it's telegraphed, it's long, there's fucking 12, 15, 20 episodes. And on top of it, there's no need to have these big rise action and falling action in a show when you have 20 episodes in a season.
And what he's saying that a lot of movies kind of fell into that.
Yeah, he's not entirely wrong.
Yeah.
That said, I can deal with some of those movies. Like good example of this is the movie Marriage Story, Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson from like 2 or 3 years ago. Loved that movie, but it was basically all dialogue driven acting. You know, it's essentially a stage play.
Yeah.
I can tolerate that every once in a while, but I can't have a majority of my movies be like that.
Right. And that's why I think a movie, I didn't love it, but Barbie being just this big spectacle.
Yeah.
Or even, Oppenheimer is 3 hours long. It's a very dialogue-driven movie as well, but there is this spectacle to it. Those two movies kind of flourish because of this.
But why Oppenheimer is different is because he turns it into this like spectacle roller coaster of a ride, where if you had just read that story or like a documentary, it would have been kind of boring at points. But
even if he told it in a linear fashion, that might have made it kind of boring too.
Good point too. Yeah.
So, you know what? I'll say it. Credit to Christopher Nolan. I know everyone else is afraid to say this. He's a good director.
He's number 2 on the planet behind.
You heard it here first. Denis Villeneuve is also very good.
Number one.
I might go flipsy flopsy there. But
we had this small conversation. I don't think there hasn't been a Villeneuve movie that made me feel like 2 Nolan movies have. Batman Begins and Tenet. Didn't care for.
Tenet was a big swing.
It was a big swing. I'll give you that.
And also,
he went down swinging.
May I suggest this? You don't understand time.
I think I understand time enough. I understood Interstellar.
What are you going to do?
A lot of people Interstellar is a good case study or a good starter conversation for someone that likes movies because you either love that movie or hate it.
I think that also might be like an expectation thing with, that cast, Nolan's attached.
Coming off in Inception.
Yeah. And the Batman series.
Yeah.
All right, Mac, where can the people find us?
You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform where you're Mac ampersand Goo. It's Mac Shift 7 Goo. That includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We're on we're on Spotify. More importantly, we're on Apple Podcasts. Get on there, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. Watertown Sportswear, 34 Mount Auburn Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com. Expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com. Go buy our stuff. Once again, check us out at Idle Hands on March 13th. The Office Part 3. What we like to do there, we might pick a couple episodes from early, late, mix in the fun character stuff, but keep this in mind. One of our categories every time, focus on one episode.
We'll pick a good one.
What will that episode be? I don't know.
We did Dinner Party and I forget the other one.
The Deposition, maybe?
Maybe The Deposition, yeah.
There's a lot of good episodes of The Office, so I think we might find one.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe when Dwight burns his foot.
Maybe Benihana at Christmas.
I'm sorry, Michael burns his foot. Dwight gets a concussion.
Yes.
Yes.
Please not Dwight. Anyone but Dwight.
All right, so Tuesdays are goose days. I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.